Namaste. I want to say in this episode we have some audio disturbances from a security system of Gary, and also my audio is not the best, but it is a really good podcast and I hope you enjoy it and I hope you share it. Enjoy episode 197. Welcome to ESM podcast 197, and today I'm so lucky and glad to be joined by none other than Gary Francis. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we have been talking back and forth, I just figured out the other day, for about a year now.
Yeah.
On an application called Telegram.
Yeah, there's a lot of good friendships that can be developed, that's for sure.
Yeah, so for people that don't know Gary, who is Gary Francis?
Wow, how long have we got? I suppose the quick background goes: New Zealand, Australia have been my home. Lived in Europe for a number of years, in Sweden and Germany. Obviously a little bit more senior in years now, and I'm making, and have been doing so, quite an effort to try and leave this place we call home better than I found it. So that comes out in me in a lot of writings that I do. I run a bit of a meditation group that's phenomenal, and not for everybody, but pretty magical at the same time. And I get heavily involved in my local community, running support groups, I suppose, would be a nice way of saying it. Just helping people sort of put down the fear about what's going on around us at the moment, and trying to get them to feel empowered for themselves. So who's Gary Francis at the moment? He's a guy that says, hey, I don't have many answers other than the ones that have worked for me. I share what I can, and the motivation for it is to just try and leave this place better than I found it.
Yeah, really good, Gary. And you mentioned the writings. You want to touch upon that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So first and foremost, I'm not an author in so much as any formal manner of writing or poetry or anything. I started to capture my thoughts a long time ago, and the first article that made it into a book was something called Mind the Gap, and that was published back in 2014. And since then, I've written now over 500 similar articles. They're a quickly daily read thing. They're a philosophical way of looking at the world. They ask sometimes, hard questions, and other times they paint beautiful, poetry of scenery and of experience. And so I've been publishing those into a book called Pathways to Resonance since 2014, and I'm just finishing the publishing of volume 4, and I've already got enough material to basically move into publishing volume 5 of Pathways to Resonance. I'm not trying to make money from them at all, really. I actually don't even know that they're for right now in mankind's history. I think they possibly are for a generation or two away from when I won't be here anymore. But hopefully somebody finds them and they add value to people's lives. So, yeah, over the years, I can look back at those writings now and go, well, I was learning a craft, and I will be to the day I die. Hopefully the enjoyment people get from them, the modern ones, as they go deeper and explore who we are and from different angles. Hopefully the experience and what people get from them. For the viewers, I suppose, fidelity of knowing what I'm doing. I write articles on all manner of different topics, and mainly, like I said, about self-development and making the world a better place. But the range of topics I've been able to touch on as I've explored myself through this writing is huge.
if you remember, we talked some time back about raising your frequency and actually slowing down. Would you try and talk a little about that?
Yeah, sure. Let me just. That article comes from a place that the world is busy, right? We're getting busier and we're getting more stressed. We've got instant information, we've got speed, haste, pace, pressure, all that stuff, right? And the further we allow that to pollute our lives, the further and further away from nature we become. If we can slow down and take the time to actually breathe and start to understand this gift of life in a different way, for me at least, when I've done that, this beautiful world starts to arrive in front of your eyes. It's not like sort of a snapshot where you're looking at the same thing and it changes instantly. It takes time to develop a seeing and a feeling around those things, but we're going too fast and we need to slow down. And that's sort of a lead up to answering your question, I suppose. The modern world has put labels on everything that don't need to be there. 4D, 5D experiences. Where does that end? Well, there isn't an end to that either. In the same way, we've said, it's topical at the moment anyway. People are talking about raising their vibrational level all the time, and this is how you get to 4D and 5D. Well, I actually think it's completely the opposite. I think the more that we slow down, we go into a meditative space, we go into an awareness energy about who we are in our own lives, and we actually put down all the labels and all the speed and the rate of change. For me, that's how I find my energy gets raised even more, is when the more I seem to slow down, not in the physical sense, but in an acuteness and an awareness perspective, the more I get lifted up to see even more. And I suppose for me, it goes back to, look, we've all been programmed. We all got taught a whole bunch of stuff, right? And not standing out in the crowd is a good thing, but it's always shunned upon, right? And I'm not worried about what other people think of me from that perspective. What I'm trying to do is help them explore who they are. So I think we could all do with just slowing down, and I think nature would reward our endeavors to slow down and to be more peaceful, more compassionate, hold more gratitude. I think if we really, as a species, want to advance out of this nightmare that's around us at the moment, the answers are actually just, who knew, in love, in compassion, in gratitude, and putting down the stress, the pace, the hassle, the competition that seems to be the life that we've been taught to take as being normal. So why do we need labels? They're about safety and security, so I can put you in a box. And then why do I need to be raising my vibration? I think nature just rewards that naturally as you come more into awareness about yourself, and the clutter out of your life sort of leaves. For me, I'm never more in tune with nature than when I'm actually going slow. So I'm brave enough to hold a different position than most.
Yeah, I think it's really good answer, Gary, and I really like it. I want to connect it to 3 more questions, so to speak. This book is written by a Norwegian doctor and a holistic practitioner. It's about finding your inner power. And when you talked about slowing down and going into Mother Nature and not raising your vibration, but actually trying to calm yourself down like that, what kind of tricks or tips you have for people who's kind of like maybe struggling to calm down? They always just spiraling upwards.
Well, you have to do it. It has to be something that you're the active participant in. So whether you're in a 30-story apartment building or whether you live in a tent in the bush, you've got to say, well, I want to be something different than I am now, and you've got to be the active participant in that change. One of my pet hates is that we're drowning in so much information that there is no truth to anything anymore. So you don't need more information. You don't need more stress. You've just got to sort of look at yourself in the mirror and go, well, what is it that I really want? And then if you're on the balcony 30 stories up, or you're walking in a local park or things, take the time then to actually stop and really sort of let what you're seeing come to you. For me, it changes. I remember reading a book once, and I was on a train leaving actually Sydney, Sydney main train station, and I finished reading the book before the train actually left. And when I looked out the window, the reds and yellows, the color of the signs at the train station had changed and become more, they were brighter, because I'd put myself into the active participant of paying attention to that level. It's hard to describe in the English language because it's a different experience for everybody. But rather than look at something and sort of go, well, that's the same old scene, maybe look at what you're looking at and try and pick out some detail, or watch some people as they're interacting, and sort of chunk down even that view into a much more simple thing. Who knew that lying on the grass, imagining shapes and fluffy clouds was actually really good for us? There isn't a single bullet here, or a glove that fits everybody. But you'll find the thing that works for you if you become the active participant in it, and you take the knowledge you've got and start to make it work. At the verb of wisdom, you take something flat and you apply it. But it's you that has to do that. Nobody can do it for you, and there's no law that can stop you. But you have to be brave enough to try.
Yeah, I think it's really good said, Gary.
We're being drowned right now as a species in so much information, and we've got to be trendy. You've got to be up with it all, right? So you've got to spend hours and hours flicking through and scrolling through your screen to keep up with all that information. None of that means anything unless we are brave enough to go, I'm going to apply this, right? I'm going to do something with this. So the next time I'm going down to the park, or I'm, I don't know, having a coffee or an after dinner mint or something, and looking over the same view, try to lose yourself in the view more. Can I read something out to you? I've got multiple screens here, so when you see me looking away, for those in the audience, I'm not distracted. I'm trying to find things, right? It's quite short, but it speaks to maybe a clue about how to do this and how to make it work. This is called The Theatre Before. I don't know whether you've read this one, but that's cool. So let me just drag that screen over here, so I'm looking at the actual camera. I just got myself out of it magically really well as well. Sorry, excuse me. Just so I'm looking at the camera, I'll put it on this screen. Come on, come over here and stay there. So this is just called The Theatre Before, and maybe there's a bit of a hint in here about how to actually start doing this and how to start applying, slowing down and finding who you are, right? So The Theatre Before, I wrote this back. When did I write this? I wrote this in 2018, so it was a while ago. The Theatre Before. You arrive outside the building full of anxious anticipation, looking forward to the experience of the play unfolding. For it's cold out, and the warmth of the theatre beckons, and you've been told this play is a not to be missed once in a lifetime opportunity. Ushered in, show into the seat, just so. The lights dim, red curtains quietly open. The heart beats fast now. Seems hard to take a simple breath. Lights lift to brighten the stage, and so the play begins. Characters, each taking their part from scene to scene, the story is revealed. It is difficult, maybe closer to impossible, to turn away, shocked, with breath robbed from the lungs, stunned. For as you sit in that place, the story presented is not less than the story of your life. There is much that rises up in you as your fears, your weakest moments, your joys, your loves are acted out on the stage to all before. But as you sit now riveted to your seat, oh, so much more you have learnt by being the witness that has happened, by being a witness to that has happened. It appears also that each audience member can see their own story being played out, given the expressions around the place. Some interesting thoughts arrive as bolts from above. But what may happen if we learnt to observe rather than being in control of my life? How much more simple might my life be if I took my hands off for a while? How much in control am I really of the next act to be played? How well did my fears serve me? How many of them actually came true? Red curtains return, dulling the show as the acts draw to a close. Much left unanswered yet to be known, for that is the way it's supposed to be. Those things of tomorrow and how they play out, all yet to be worked out. Gliding as of feet not on the ground, outside quick you have come, surrounded by those from the same showing, the same expression to be seen. For now you have seen your life as the observer. There can be no going back. And that was in August 2018. What I was obviously hinting at there is try to become the observer of your life, not necessarily without understanding you have a role to play, without necessarily being sort of caught up in the actions of your life, maybe trying to actually stand away from them and watch yourself go through your life. As this article called The Theatre Before hints at, I've learned a tremendous amount. Sometimes things that I didn't want to know about myself. But I found the most useful way of doing that is to actually sort of become the observer of life. And maybe if you're sitting in a park looking at the fluffy clouds and dreaming of things, see yourself doing that and feel the feelings of doing it. You don't need the information of the world to be whole. You just have to be honest with yourself. So this is some of the deeper things that I try and hint at in all of these articles I've been writing.
Yeah, it's really deep and good. And I think that we have touched upon it several times, Gary, but I really want to touch upon it a time again because I really try to practice this every day. I have in a frame behind me here something that's called the positive law. I'm trying to repeat it for myself every day. It's kind of easy to say, but not as hard, not as easy to live by. It goes like this: think positive thoughts, use positive words, do positive actions, and the positive will grow in your life too. So do you use some minutes of your day to feel of the emotion of gratitude in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. The English language can't give me the words to describe how much I experience in my life now. The word gratitude even falls short. I've had some horrendous experiences. All of us have. We've all had pains and sufferings. Unfortunately, I had a huge one very recently. But yet I'm able to still say this thing called life is a gift, and I'm learning how to cherish it and how to be grateful that it was given to me. On your poem, if you don't mind me, I've come to a place where, for me, I think that we are more unlimited or limitless in ways that are mind-blowing. And setting your intention for the outcomes you're looking for, I actually think that time, future time, as it becomes real time for us now, in the now, I think that we get what we ask for. I think the universe delivers to us what our intention is. So if I'm angry and tense and upset, then more things will come to me that are angry, uptight, and tense with, right? The more, if you say to yourself, I want better outcomes, I want to be a more peaceful person, I want to put down some of this anger, I want to laugh more. I think we are so powerful, so unbelievably powerful, that our intention in the now changes the future that's coming towards us. And that's huge, right? Because if we could do that individually, if we could understand that that might have some evidence and truth, what happens if a few 100 million people start to do that around the world? I think each of us are limitless in the future we can create for ourselves individually and collectively. So like the thing that you just read out before, that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's the right intention. It's the right verb of calling something into existence. I don't believe in what was it called? The thing that came out a few years ago called the greatest secret or whatever it was, that your intention can get you a Porsche. The secret, I think it was called. That only tells half the story. I think you've got to have an intention that is in alignment with good outcomes for yourself or for those around you. I don't think that you can, I want a Porsche. It's got to be blue with pink seats, That's not where it's at. But I do believe absolutely that we create our own future. Our own future is created by the intention and now, and I think that only gets stronger as we hold on to that intention for longer periods.
Absolutely, Gary. I think you mentioning the book called The Secret. So I really like the way you touched upon that.
It's deeper for me. It's deeper. It's why am I asking for this thing? Whatever it is, right? If it's more peace for you, that's great. If it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend to come into your life, that's fine. And but why? What's my motivation for asking? Is my motivation to help try and make me a better person, or to help those around me? Now, if I'm asking things that I want because I'm a selfish little child, and I want that Ferrari or Porsche or whatever. That comes from a place of being selfish. That doesn't come from a place. That comes a place from, look at me, I've got this new thing in my life, right? Before you even ask the question, what's your motivation for wanting something? Is it to help other people, or is it so that other people can see me being a better person? The universe and the secret and that whole thing, where intention goes, energy flows, and everything else is all well and good. But if it's not coming from a place of helping other people or teaching you something that will then lead to a better outcome for other people around you, I'd ask you first to question your own motivation. Why am I really asking for this thing? Is it to help other people? That doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room for all of the little niceties that the secret talks about, right?
No, it doesn't. And Gary, I'm not quite sure if you ever heard about this professor, but there is a professor in the land of Norway, whose name is Ingvar Wilhelmsen, and he has said, and I have this quote in front of me, it's so good: all too many dulling around with difficult thoughts they can do nothing about. I used to say to people, when they have brought attention enough on their thoughts, it's smart to change their attitude about those hard thoughts if they so choose to do that. I really like that quote, because many people do take a lot of information into their head that not necessity, or that no necessarily need to bring attention on their self and go around with it. So, for instance, if I would take an example of my own head and my own life, I have this red covering here because recently, a month ago, I did a surgery. So instead of me thinking about the difficult thoughts of pain and how I would like to work those thoughts, I'm trying to just reconfigure my own head and thoughts, and saying that the pain I'm feeling is the process of growth in the scar tissue and the things that's working for the betterment of my body. So that's the way I learned from the professor, that you can change how you process yourself in the mindset, because I choose to. I really want to change the way that I think like that. That is also one of the reasons that I've been for 3, 4, close to 4.5 years now, working on my top. I've seen it, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Think, evaluate, self-talk, and then talk, because then you get rid of a lot of unnecessarily wording and stuff out in the universe that you don't necessarily want to put out there. Because I think, especially talking with you, Gary, who have written so many good texts and know so much about the different kinds of words and the different kinds of meanings, would maybe even agree 100% when I say Tolstoy said it's easier to written 10 books of philosophy than to put out one single sentence of teaching into the world.
Wow. I hadn't considered that side. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. There's a zillion answers in me that can come out of that. Mankind we're amazing, right? We take so much for granted. I wasn't an active player in my own life. I was given this life, right? And the kids that come after me and their kids that come after them, they're going to be born into this world too. So why would I take this amazing gift we called life and be so selfish as to not try and make somebody else's life experience better for them? If it was given to me, why? I wouldn't say give my life away, but give others the opportunity to discover themselves. The world hasn't seen this yet, but I'll release it in the next couple of days, just as another article. It's like the world is an entire theater, and the text is quite long, but I'm taking you basically on a hypnotic journey. Here's what it's trying to say to you. If you look at the world right now, everything that's going on in your life, right, and you can see all of the magic parts of it playing out, and your history and who you're knocking around with now, and perhaps what your job is, and you can see the trains and the cars coming and going. This article that I'm about to release sort of says, if you look at that at a three-dimensional picture that has height, has width, right? It plays as a movie in front of your eyes. Now imagine yourself not in your life. So the whole of that scene, the whole of that movie would continue to play without you in it. And if you'd never been born, this world would be doing all of that without you here, right? So can you imagine the gift of what it is to arrive here, to be an active participant in that movie, and how that movie's talking to you or talking to other people? Because it's going to play out whether you're here or not. Before I was born, this world was happening. I was born, the world's still happening. After I die, the world will still happen. If you can look at the time of your life and see it as a movie in front of you, then you can ask yourself the question, what role do I want to take here? How am I going to choose how I want to interact with this thing? In your case, you've had recent surgery and you're choosing a better outcome perhaps than a lot of other people around there, because you're making that choice, that verb of making that decision to do something, right? So this new article that I'm writing is trying to paint the whole world as nothing more than this amazing three-dimensional movie that's playing out in front of us. And the important part for us is it's going to play out whether I'm here or not. So I might as well be active in deciding how I'm going to respond to the movie of time. I know that might be a bit deep, right? But the movie is height and width. It doesn't have depth. So at that point, I'm not three-dimensionally immersed in it, but it's still playing. So if I can see life as a movie playing in front of me, what's the role that I want? What's the character that I want to be as I interact with life? You could be consumed by your operation and hide away and react quite negatively, perhaps, to have had that surgery, but you're choosing a different role.
Yep.
And we're losing that fidelity, right? We're being told everybody else has got the answers for us. The governments make the laws. The local councils tell us where to park. I don't need any of that stuff. It's nonsense. I suppose if I can see the world as a three-dimensional movie playing in front of me, I can actually interact with it in a way that's beyond imagination, because you can choose when to be angry. You can choose when to be happy. You can choose what your response is to everything. You are actually in control of who you are and the way you're responding as the movie plays.
Yep.
I don't know whether that's helping the commentary that you're saying at the moment. I don't want much anymore. Like, life is so rich and so strong and so pure, and the things that I thought were important now so trivial. That life, the more I let go into life and then take responsibility for my own actions, thoughts and deeds, and able to change myself and improve and not make the same mistake tomorrow that I did today, life just seems to get richer and richer and richer.
Definitely. I think this question is kind of interesting one, because it can go in many ways and a lot of direction. What is happiness to you?
Wow. That's a big question. Happiness is keeping it simple. Happiness is not needing a label applied to anything. Happiness is being in this experience of this gift and seeing it with gratitude for what it is. I can have some really bad experiences from time to time as the movie plays, but I can use those bad experiences for much better outcomes for myself and for those around me, or I can be consumed by them. So happiness for me is this marvelous thing called life. It's what a ride, eh? We don't know what's coming tomorrow. We're not sure what our response will be. We can set ourselves the intention of being not consumed by something that might happen tomorrow, but rather learn from it. But if you put everything into a pot, you've got this gift called life, and it's good and bad at times, and even that's subjective. I don't know what bad is anymore. It's just a learning experience, all of it. Happiness is to be here to experience it. Happiness is to help other people put down some of the loads they've been carrying in their own lives for so long, and maybe even, from just a mind's eye perspective, to let them actually smell the roses of life. I know that's way too deep, but it's fun helping other people. It's an honor. I'm grateful for the opportunity to even be able to write the articles to maybe make someone's life better for them in the future. So I suppose the simple answer is, happiness is life. We've just got to look at it through the correct lens.
Really good, Gary. I think that before we're going to the end part and ending off this nice episode, I would like to ask you, what inspires you in life and why?
What inspires me in life? I'm inspired by somebody who has, for many, many years, not given themselves the permission to be whole, and to be able to help a person to see how boundlessly amazing and limitless we actually all are, to help them, to hold them in the palm of my hand and to try and help them see how perfect they actually are for themselves, and to see them just be brave enough maybe to open the door a little bit wider into their life and let the light come in a little bit more, right? That's amazing. I'm inspired by everybody around me if they're working on seeking a better quality life for themselves, and to be able to help them do that sometimes, that's amazing. It's no greater privilege could I think of than to try and help somebody heal themselves of wounds, and then to go on to actually start actually being able to see and smell and take life in for real, without all the baggage that mankind's put on us. So hopefully that's a big enough answer.
Yeah, it's a really good and big enough answer, Gary. And I think that I would like to mention Alfred de Musset, who had a really good quote that goes like this: to be successful here in the world, we have to remember this, that to understand is to know, and to want is to be, is the stand. To achieve something is to dare to do it.
Yeah.
It's and yeah.
Yeah, lots have been stolen from us. I did a series of presentations a while ago called Deprogramming the Programming. We've all been programmed to be put in these limited boxes of existence. It's all a lie. No law can hold us down. We've just got to start choosing better outcomes first for ourselves, and then for those around us. Life is this amazing ride when we start to understand how good we can be to each other and for each other, and supporting each other's journeys. But our words have been stolen, right? The word profit, you mentioned one word in that article, and it's kind of been stolen as well. I forget what it was now, but much of our language needs to be changed, or the definitions to it need to be altered. Profit, for instance, should be, is it good for me or those around me, or is it good for the planet? That's when we actually profit, right? So when you start looking at yourself, it's all of this other stuff that's been put in there that you have to get rid of to just end up being me. Yeah, life's supposed to be simple, and we're supposed to actually enjoy this place. Why are we the only species that has to pay to live here?
Yeah, that's pretty strange, and I agree with that.
I do a lot of reading, and I'm reading something at the moment about ascension for the species, is written by Lipton. I'm really enjoying that. If you could get somebody of that color in here rather than just an amateur like me, that would be pretty cool.
Before I play the audio, I do want to say thank you. And we have been putting a lot of good talks and a lot of good words into a podcast. And I think it's time to say thank you and to pull this outro.
Thank you for having me.
Folk kan hate, så kan jeg elske. Jeg elsker det. Instagrammen min, SSShow2020. Du elsker. Du elsker.